And starting to the bottom left on a cross-position game on a Whirlwind, we have the Zerg player for Team Startail. It is
Startail Curious.
He has a 1-0 lead in this group so far. Took down Swagger a little bit earlier. And he's up against another Protoss player. Starting to the top right, we have STX Soul.
STX Soul Deer.
That's what Curious is thinking right now. Oh dear, I have to play against another Protoss player.
Yeah. And actually, Dia, I mean, we talked a little bit about the match statistics for Swagger and also for Curious. Curious is not the best player in this matchup, but he made it happen against Swagger. Keep in mind that Swagger also had only a 45% win ratio in this matchup. Dia is a bit of a different beast. He has 11 games played and he won 7 of them. So that leaves him with a 64% win ratio against Zerg. Took down opponents like Pet, like Jaedong, like Su, for example. He lost to Roro actually twice, which is kind of funny since we have him facing Roro today. So that's going to be a very interesting game between the two of them. But they're definitely a different opponent than Swagger, a lot better in this matchup in particular. He, by the way, lost to a Protoss player in the Challenger League. That's why we have him now in the up and downs. He lost to Flying in the second round. So very big map, cross-positioned, and let's see what we will see on this map. We actually have Curious starting off with a hatch first.
Yeah, hatch first, and also patrols the drone just to make sure there's no shenanigans going on. Speaking of which, there's the Forge.
Yeah, there's the Forge, and with the Forge opening alone, you can already start to cannon your opponent. Even if you go into a next first build, you can start to pull that off. But Curious here is not afraid to start things with the hatch first and not with the pool.
Is he going double hatch before? He's going double hatch before pool counter, and this could be really risky. It's a 4-player map, all spawns possible, so you might get away with it. But still, if he gets an idea about this,
I think he will, because the probe is now being spotted by the Overlord, which means that first of all, Curious knows exactly where his opponent spawned. Second of all, it means he knows where that probe will try to get in. The third base, that is where it really counts. The natural cannoning, that is not going to be an option anymore. But Dia could decide to actually build a few cannons at the third base. So this is where Curious has to send some units over, and I'm very surprised to not see that.
He doesn't check the third counter, and this means I don't think he's going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake.
But he's not going to know until he gets all the way into the main base, and by then it's going to be too late.
He knew already when he saw the Overlord where Curious' spawning position was. So I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't scout the third, given that he really just moved past it. So just a bit of a detour with the probe would have already helped him.
And this is great for Curious right now. He's thinking, okay, awesome. You know, you're not cannoning me. And, well, I mean, I guess he doesn't actually know that. Could be a second probe cannoning him, but you would assume not. And now that the hatchery is done, he can feel very confident. And Deer...
You know, it actually looks like Dia is not aware of the timing here.
Yeah, it's weird to say something like that, but he checks this base as the wrong base. Now he's going to go see, and he's going to be like, oh, no.
All right, he checked. For a second, I really thought he would go to the top right, but here, of course, he realized that the pool is too late, but he checked the top left base a bit faster than this one, but he knows now. Yeah, for a second I was really a little bit shocked. I was like, you have to realize that the pool is so late that this is not a hatch into pool build, that this is a double hatch. And of course he realized it. He just checked the different base first. He knows now, confirmed that there is another expansion. And that's a pretty cool opening for Curious to get away with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is so good for a Zerg player. +1 is on the way for Deer right now. I wonder if he's going to reply by trying to put some pressure on that third base very quickly. There's a lot of different things you can do as a Protoss against this. One of which is the 4 gateways with +1 pressure, sometimes even 5 gates. You can also go into Stargate and just harass like you would normally and try to kill some of those units while they're a little bit less protected.
Well, so far it's just trying to poke a little bit, but the one thing that Curious gets with this is, of course, speed. You kind of want to have that. You want to have speed, you want to connect your bases if you can. And that's a really fast third base, too, that we see here.
Yeah, that's, you know, another way you can respond to this. Some people would argue it's very risky, though, because when you have 3 hatcheries really fast, you also have a ton of Zerg League production you could send out, and he's going to get scouted. Curious is playing so well today. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, but still, that cannon is gonna finish, and he will have the cannon there at least. The question now being is how does Curious react? And Dia, if he plays this well, he could actually do that, but he needs to keep those Stalkers alive. He cannot lose them.
Yeah, Mothership Core really helping out here. If he damages the Queen a little bit, he can take it off with the core. And I think he may go for that. There's just too many Zerglings, though.
Yeah, the Zealot at least goes down. The Mothership Core has to get out of there against the Queen. Keep also in mind that the speed upgrade is going to finish fairly soon, and those two Stalkers, they're endangered species if they really decide to stick around.
Double Stargate, Kelder, we could see what we were talking about earlier, you know, at least a variation of this.
Yeah, Deer pissed off so many Zerg players at the beginning of Heart of the Swarm when he went for his mass Stargate builds, especially on Achillon. He was one of the barcode players that Zerg struggled against, and I said it earlier, there we go, but with a recall, he's safe.
That means he doesn't have the energy for overcharge. With the cannons you talked about earlier, well, I guess it's only one, but it's walled off tightly. I don't think Curious is going to be able to do any damage to that Nexus.
Let's talk for a second about which style we're talking about. A few players might not know. When we were coming in Heart of the Swarm, we had a Zerg player, a barcode player on ladder that defeated every single Zerg on Korea over and over again, especially on Achillon. And his trademark style was to go on 3 bases very early in the game, cannon them up mercilessly, and then go into a double and triple Stargate. Get a couple of Tempests out there, get Void Rays into the mix, and just play a very passive game. He allowed the Zerg player to get the entire base, the entire map, sorry, and he just pushed out, and it was just a composition that he went for that Zerg didn't really know how to counter. And the build kind of disappeared, even though Zerg never really found the perfect counter. The best results that you could get were with Queens and Hydralists, and then later on a few Vipers in the game. But Zerg really threw army after army against this, and they really struggled. And it turned out that the Protoss player was actually Deer. And he is not heading into the exact style that he used back then, but he's still using his Stargate play here. It's also very low on the cannon, on the amount of cannons that he uses. It would be really interesting to see if he's trying to pull something similar off.
Yeah, you know, he goes for Phoenixes here first, but that's going to give him map control. He's going to be able to kill all the Overlords, kill a ton of drones, force Spore Crawlers, and also really eliminates the threat of Mutalisks, you know, as an opening. The Roaches that are coming out here, on the other hand, are going to be something he wishes he had Void Rays for, and he hasn't quite seen them just yet. His Phoenix Scout does see the 4th base, but he doesn't see the Roach count, and it's getting quite high.
One of the things that Curious could do, I doubt that he will, but you can try to muscle your way through with Mutalisks and Corruptors against the double Stargate if you are on a much superior economy. And with the 4th base already there, that's something that he has. I highly doubt that we're going to see that, but it's something that we've seen a couple of times in the past if you really want to go for this style and trying to starve your opponent. But for now, the map control that he has is something that really works in his favor. And you mentioned the ground army.
Yeah.
That's something that he has to struggle against now, and he will.
Yeah, here we go. Link's running in here, surrounding those Zealots. And this is a big problem. He has Phoenixes he can use to try to help lift those Roaches to eliminate their DPS, but the second wave of Roaches is so high, he's actually going to come around here for the flank, and Deer's ground army is toast.
Deer's ground army is on the way back. The Phoenix is coming in to help out. The cannon is still there. The Photon overcharge is going strong. With all these Phoenixes, he will eventually be able to take down those Roaches. I don't think that he will be able to snipe that base. So there's a lot of resources that is going to be lost for Curious.
Yep. Curious has a 4th base though, and he splits his Roaches to the side. Nice warp in here. Gonna buy him a little bit more time, but the Void Rays are out. Good hold here from Deer. The bigger problem rather than his bases is, well, the only thing that he lost here was his sentries and his stalkers, and that's really annoying for him.
Good luck running away from those Phoenixes. That is just not going to happen. And now we have a massive air army for Deer. And Curious has a tough time attacking. He was 50 supply ahead, but that number is shrinking really fast. He's trying to transition now. He's going into Infestation Pit and also Hydra Den. He realizes that he's a little bit in trouble here. Even though he's the one with the supply lead, he's the one with 4 bases, but his composition is not going to work for much longer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Hydralisk Den and the Infestation Pit with nice touches to add in here. This time the Roach army may be able to get the Nexus if he targets it down.
I think he will.
Will it be worth it? That's the question in the long run. He's going to lose so much. I think it might be. He splits the Roaches. He only targets with half. I really like this. That way he can trade against the ground army and get the Nexus.
All of those units, of course, going down. The question really, is that worth the trade? And with all those Roaches down, you know, later on he will not be able to really make good use of them.
I like the trade, actually. I do, because he has 4 bases. He doesn't have to worry about any timings because he's killed enough of Deer's army. He traded pretty well. He's even going to pick off some Zealots here. I like the trade, actually, for Curious quite a bit.
Given that he's on 4 bases, it makes sense for him. If he was on only 3, would have probably thought, okay, that might not be the best choice. But if you're on 4 bases, sorry, and you take down one of your opponents, you put him on 2 mining for a long time, so that really works out for him. Keep in mind that those upgrades that we see for Deer are much better now than for Curious, with the +2 attack nearly completed.
You're right, and he also killed those Hydras and a Queen here. And Deer is struggling to hold his third, but when it comes to the Phoenix pressure, he is really doing some seriously good trades. This one not as good as the previous one, but even doing this is nice for him while he needs to buy that time to get the base. Look at the resources lost, 5,000 versus 9,000, nearly double.
Very cost-efficient game so far for Deer. But that's also the game that he has to play. He's even getting another base to the right side, and his choice to go into the High Templars, which is something that he started earlier, just underlines what we are talking about. He is one of those players who will combine the air units with High Templar support that gives you the option to feedback Infestors and Queens, and Storms are just so effective against Hydralisks.
Yeah, I really liked Curious' position until he lost all those Hydras, lost those Queens, and a few of those drones. Nice transfuse here, and I push this away. This attack that's coming out from Deer, he does. As far as I know, we don't have our observing PC. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have charge. Without charge, this is never going to work. Okay, he does have charge, actually.
He does have charge, and he has a set of units to the left side trying to take down that hatch. That's not going to happen. But he opens up another attack at the third base, and that is going to be so much more effective. And that's the lair.
That's the lair, and he's about to get this base. He can finish it off later. Good force fields here, charges down that lair, and this is a huge problem for Curious.
He can recall, and he can also, he did already, and now he can warp in units in the main base. There's a warp prism.
The charge here, awesome for him to get this early.
Deer with really nice play here. Just occupying his opponent as much as he can, getting those upgrades out, getting the fourth base. He needs to be a little bit careful, though, since we really have Curious on a great economy, and Curious, he's starting to get maxed out, and if he can just throw wave after wave of units against Deer, the Protoss might be in trouble, but for now he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he really is. The Zealots coming in here. If he targets on the Infestation Pit, for example, that would be awesome, because there's, of course, no lair. He decides to go for the hatchery here instead, which would be a good investment. The problem being that there's already a macro hatch pretty nearby, so he's not going to lose as much mining time. Queen is gone here.
Yeah, the Queen is gone, but that's still a lot of mining time lost,
and
especially
he's going to target
the gas.
Nice. Oh, nicely done here.
Zealots
really
run bys have been doing such great damage against Terran, but against Zerg also very effective. And Dia is doing what he is doing best. He is pissing Curious off big time. He's annoyed Zerg since Heart of the Swarm came into play, and now we have him even with the Dark Shrine on the production tab. He's going into Colossi as well. And Curious, he's just looking at this as like, okay, this doesn't do anything for me. I have to do something. I have to take the initiative again. I have to take control of the game. I have to move out, and that's what he's trying to do. But against those High Templars, it's not going to be easy going up against Storm and against Feedback.
And if any of those Phoenixes pick off the Infestors, it's going to be even more difficult. He has so many Storms, right? Look at all those Templar. As soon as, well, he doesn't go for the Phoenixes here. Now he picks up one of the Infestors. There's so many Void Rays here. The Templar not really able to storm. Finally, they get one off. The second one goes down here against the Infested Terrans. The Zealots to the right doing a lot of damage. Curious, he just doesn't have enough to push through here.
Great Storms, and Curious is trying to make it work, but Storm after Storm is hitting home. And keep in mind that Dia has a good bank. He can warp in units again. He's a little bit on the run, but Curious doesn't really have a follow-up to this. He's trying, but the problem for him also being that he's so behind in upgrades. Dia is warping in more Zealots, and they are charging to the rescue, taking down all of those Hydralisks.
The upgrades really coming through here for him. These Zealots, of course, just having the better upgrades, ripping through those Hydras. He has +3 already. Curious on a tiny, tiny economy. Gonna really struggle to transition here. Yeah, he's up in supply, but that's gonna change very soon with the next rounds of Warp-ins, the Colossi that are gonna be started. He can add more Void Rays.
You know, I'm not 100% sure, but I do not know if Curious actually got his lair again. As I said, guys, we do not have our observing computer today. We cannot double check. It might be at the natural. That's the only position where he could have gone for it. But if he doesn't have the lair, no, he has lair. He's going for the +2. But
okay,
that is so delayed. And another hatch is going down here, so the production once again in a lot of trouble.
Even trying to save some Zealots, he gets away with them. There's no fungal, and this amount of Zealots may be able to cancel the hatch, but Curious is wise to this.
He could actually just attack the army.
He could. You know, he certainly could. And he decides not to. You better at least get that hatch, or it's not going to be worth it. He does.
Yeah, he will get the hatch. And he's still on 4 bases. Keep that in mind. Every single exchange here that just results in him losing minerals is absolutely fine. He's going for the added tech. We have him with a +2 armor upgrade. He's also heading into more Colossi. The range upgrade is on the production tab. He is doing so much damage, and Curious, Deer is picking him apart.
Yeah, Deer is just throwing unit after unit at Curious. He's playing a very swarmy, very aggressive style here. He's just constantly attacking. And like you said, he's on 4 bases, so it doesn't matter if he loses 12 Zealots to kill a base because he has the money to make 12 more instantly.
Curious is currently looking like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's looking like he's in deer's headlights right now. Then Deer can take a 5th base. I think he will. He's got a probe down there to the bottom right, ready to do it.
This is just what Dia has been known for, annoying Zerg as much as he can, always with a multitasking run bys. It's just such a beautiful play that we see out of the Protoss player. Really dominant with his performance. Good storms, a really nice army composition that he has here. He's still behind in overall supply, but the problem is that Curious is lacking the upgrades, and his composition is also not going to work for much longer. But nice fungal here, and he's able to close the distance if he can dodge the rest of the storms, but it doesn't look like it.
He just can't close the distance with those force fields there. Good feedback on the Infestors. The last of the Hydras goes down, and Deer, I think, may have sealed the deal with this fight. He can just move forward with his Stalkers.
Dia is basically maxing out his tech tree, whereas Curious doesn't even have a hive. He's nowhere near getting one, and he has no chance left. GG! And Dia takes it, making a very convincing appearance here in our group, taking the first victory. Very, very well played by him. Very impressive performance.
That was, that was a great game by both players. Deer playing the better game at the end of the day, but I liked Curious's opening. That's the kind of Protoss versus Zerg I really like to see, where there's constant aggression going on by both players all the time, trading for a Nexus, sending the Zealots in with the Warp Prism. That was an awesome game.
That was really well done. And this is, of course, that was only our first set of games, 3 games so far. We will have a short break, guys, and when we are back, we will go into the next set of matches. Currently, we have Dia with a win. Curious is on 1-1. Marine King with a win as well. And Marine King is going to play one of our next games, and we'll find out if he can actually take a second win here and maybe lead the group today. So, great games to start the day off.
Yeah.
And after a 5-minute break, we're going to find out if the next set of games is as exciting as the last few. See you in a few.